has been going down the hole for years now, and it seems to be completely out of touch and broken, guys. Now, look at Canada today. We have insane amount of unemployment, huge inflation, unaffordable housing, and ridiculous amount of system gaps, and seems like nobody's even talking about it. Everyone is saying, well, you have to come and live in this world's best country. And I want to start by saying, let's start with immigration. It has a broken immigration program. It's the first reason not to move to Canada. Unfortunately, I have to make this video. Immigration has been broken for years. Now, in fact, all the universities, not all of them, but most of this educational system in Canada has become a huge scheme to attract international students, charge them 3 times their rate, and take advantage. As a precursor of Canadian immigration, guys, as international students would be coming to Canada with opportunity to stay here after graduation. So there were a lot of fraud happening where they bunch of not only universities and colleges but secondary institutions just opened up to be able to money grab on this looting opportunity of money coming from other countries into Canada and take advantage of that. So not only international students, if you look at the hypocrisy of the entire immigration system that Canada has, lots of people came from Ukraine. That's guess where I'm from originally. I was born in Ukraine, guys. And a lot of them were publishing on TikTok, they were publishing on other platforms, they were in YouTube as well. They were just complaining how terrible Canada came to be. It's not the same country that advertised itself. It's not the same country that was portrayed before they came to Canada. And to be honest, guys, a lot of those people who came here running from war, it's a pretty pathetic situation because a lot of them were fleeing as refugees, but they didn't expect to be slaving away as soon as they come here. Of course, Canada gave away visa, working visa, but a lot of people thought they are finding refuge in a better country, and they came here and they were significantly disappointed. Some people went even back to Ukraine after this entire situation because they didn't expect that the government is going to put a program to take advantage of those people. Now, guys, you would think that this entire situation was there to help. In reality, it was a lot of it is to bring in Ukrainians, not only fleeing from Ukraine, otherwise the program would be built in such a way, but to bring Ukrainians from everywhere. It was almost like a looting opportunity to bring in people from, like Ukrainians from Dubai, Saudi Arabia, those guys who've been out of Ukraine for years. They were in Germany, Poland, Czech Republic, United States, and with an opportunity to stay and immigrate here. So they brought all their savings, they were way above and better income. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them brought a lot of money, some buying properties for cash, which guys also contributed to our housing market. So we have all this inflow, ridiculous immigration target for years coming to Canada. And I covered a lot of those programs throughout the years on this YouTube channel that were bringing in people and helping with immigration and things like that to stay in a better country. But the thing is, Canada is not the same country that it used to be. Well, especially when I came here 12 years ago, things have been going down and down and down. So, okay, immigration is broken, and I actually believe that immigration needs to stop for at least a small period of time, because all the bureaucracy in terms of building houses and housing paces and affordability and no infrastructure to sustain the inflow and population growth that we are experiencing, even though I still believe you need to have a certain population growth for the economy to be successful, but the system is not functioning properly in Canada. Next thing is no healthcare. Guys, it's ridiculous. I am just about, guys, to, well, I'm working with somebody right now at my workplace who wants to sell a home. You know why they want to sell a home? Because they want to get out of Canada. They want to leave from Canada because it's a senior person. And they've been in Canada for many years, and now they have to go, well, guys, to let's say, I don't know, third world country. Let's say Kazakhstan is the country, and they want to go there to get their medicals done, to get their stuff done, to get everything done. And also, they can't really leave Canada for one thing is because they just found out as well that Canada is not going to pay them pension, Canadian pension, from them paying decades and decades and decades of Canadian taxes if they leave Canada. because they feel cheated, because they're like, hey, look, first of all, Canada is not offering me healthcare here, it's not offering me other things that I need to be fixed. Their family doctors are like, you're fine, you shouldn't be worried about, but they do need treatment, and they would rather go to a third world country, pay the money, and get themselves a better healthcare than in Canada, and well, maybe even retire there, because they cannot afford retiring in Canada anymore. Even though they moved here for a better life, now they have to go back home for a better life, which is freaking ridiculous, guys. I can't believe I'm making this negative video for you. Like, I don't like talking about these things. And also, guys, the other reason is for why people are leaving Canada and not to move to Canada is, well, they can make enough money. People cannot make enough money in Canada, guys. I mean, look at it this way. I know people who are working many jobs. Like, look at it this way, guys. I'm telling you, look, a family is trying to buy a home. So they are trying to buy a home. Guess how many jobs do they have in total? So the family is the husband and wife. They work 2 jobs each. And together, they cannot afford a home that they want. So now, the only way for them to buy a home is to bring in their daughter and their son on the mortgage application. But you see the dilemma here. The daughter and the son also want to have a Canadian dream. They also want to own a home. They do not want to contribute their entire, family tree income in order to afford a home. And is this a Canadian dream when, you have literally, let's calculate, for 4 people, you have for 4 people, you have literally 6 incomes combined together, and still they can barely afford anything. And they can't afford because the kids were like, hey, mom, dad, I want to own my own place. And guess what? Without their mom and dad, they also cannot have a place. So you can't really make enough money in Canada. Insane competition for people and everything between those cities. I'll tell you guys, I came to Canada years back as an international student myself, and now I'm complaining to you about immigration. Canada was a better place back then. But still, guys, you can see the amount of people that were floating into Toronto, especially that's where I came to Canada, because, hey, wow, it's New York of Canada, and there was immense competition. So that's why I moved to Calgary, and I'm glad I did, because the competition is insane. Waiting times to get a good paid job, or even just a job, is what you studied for. Immigrants come into Canada. That's another reason, guys, is basically immigrants, they don't find jobs that they're suitable for. You have doctors driving for Uber, you have qualified people who cannot get licenses to practice, and even some professionals like lawyers after hours driving an extra job for Uber, delivering food or driving passengers, which is freaking ridiculous. And is this a Canada or is it a third world country? Now tell me, guys. Also, we have a crisis, a political crisis in Canada. Now, Canada has turned into a sort of Titanic ship that is going down. But the problem is, with this Titanic ship, my pronunciation, guys, with this Titanic ship, it's not going down. The Titanic hit an iceberg and it drowned. And it's like a drowning ship that has been drowning for years and drowning, but it doesn't sink for some reason, which may be a good thing, maybe a bad thing, but we have a political crisis. We have a captain of Titanic ship, the ship is going down, and the captain is trying to, the ship is really well built, the ship is trying to stay afloat somehow, but the captain really tries to hit iceberg after iceberg after iceberg to make it go down. And even though the captain of the ship is about to be kicked out by his own party, and still, he wouldn't let go of the captain's chair, and we are living through basically a political crisis in Canada. Everyone was thinking it's great, but I think that this captain has taken us to really bad waters and have been hitting icebergs, almost purposefully trying to drown the ship and get Canada to the bottom of the freaking ocean. And I hope we don't drown before we get the new captain changed out, and things are hopefully going to happen soon, but the captain won't let go of the seat. Now, also we have, guys, we have a culture of avoidance in Canada. I don't know if that's the right way to say. You see, the problem is in Canada is the culture itself. Like, I am Canadian now. I have embraced Canadian culture, and it's not a good thing to speak up your mind. In fact, we have lots of censorship going on in Canada, and in every way. It's not customary to speak up about bad things as well. So, and we also have another thing, is that a lot of Canadians are so naive that they think that, you know what, the government, like they get paid for the higher, like they're smarter than me. So what do I know about politics? What do I know about the government rulings? And we kind of tend to put our head down, and we expect the government to be able to do what the government is supposed to do in our best interest and guide the ship in the correct at the correct basically directions. So we have culture of avoidance where people are trying to trust the government, just like you trust the doctors, which in Canada I don't really trust the doctors, because the doctors are like ridiculous, and you go to a medical care, you are people dying in lines waiting for their treatments. People get misdiagnosed. Some people have to fly back home to get their diagnosis done as immigrants and then come back to Canada after they treated, because relying on Canadian healthcare is just stupid for them. And we have this culture of avoidance where people are like, well, it's not good it's nice to be Canadian, it's nice to be nice. Everyone wants to be nice to everyone, but this part of being nice to everyone actually kind of damages everything, because that niceness turns into naiveness and a lack of responsibility. And we have this kind of situation where people are starting to speak up. As you can see on this video, you're going to see a lot of in the comments, people are going to start speaking up. But it's kind of a bad sign, I feel as an immigrant myself in a Canadian culture, to bring these things up that I'm bringing up and talk about, negative aspects of the country, because you have to say, hey, you came to the best country of the world, you should be happy, and just shut up and don't speak up your mind, and they keep your head down and let the professionals deal with it. Like, why are you even talking about this kind of thing? So they're kind of a way of like almost passive aggressiveness and also like a culture of avoidance or non-confrontation or being nice. But I mean, guys, be nice is great. You have to be nice. I think we have to be nice to each other as human beings, but being nice under your own expenses, where you're sacrificing your future and you're letting your things go away and your country drown in debt, inflation, and a housing crisis, immigration crisis, political crisis, and all of these problems. I think that's actually you're being nice not to yourself. You're being nice for no reason. You have to take things in a kind of your own, probably be a little bit less nice and sort things out, and things going to get better, and then we can be back to being nice again. I think that's a great cultural thing. But I mean, I think that's one of the reasons that the things are not really looking nice right now. Now, also, a lot of people will never be able to afford a house. And that's a reality, especially if you're living in Toronto or Vancouver. It's ridiculous. I'm hearing stories, and I'm in a occupation where I'm really closely connected to the real estate prices and things like that. So I talk to realtors and in Vancouver and in Toronto, and I'm like, how the hell do people afford houses out there? I mean, yes, it's great. Like, how the hell do you as an agent make a commission on a sale of a property that nobody can afford, but you're telling me that you're making a lot of money from a property that cannot be even sold technically for an average income in Canada, but it still gets sold? How does it work? So I asked some of those colleagues, because I'm also working in real estate in Calgary, Alberta myself, with the XP Realty, and I was asking them, and they're like, well, it's not a big deal. They just have multiple families combining their incomes, where you have in some cases 3 families. You have like guys, I was like, how many people do you have on a mortgage application? How many people do you have on a title of that property? They're like, well, it's just sometimes there is a family 2-story house with the basement, so somebody lives on a family living upstairs, family living on the main floor, and a family living in a freaking basement, and that's how you get paid. I was like, wow, so like, but that's a ridiculous way of existence. I mean, it's crazy. Is it like what, communist post-World War II housing or something? Like, is that even a life? Is that a Canadian dream? I mean, what the hell happened to Canada in that way? In Calgary, at least we still can afford houses in such a way where, but the things went up again, like by a lot. Not everyone can afford houses in Calgary. Like, I'm talking about people who are working regular jobs. It's I just helped a Ukrainian family purchase a home in Blackford. It's behind Red Deer. It's 180 kilometers away from Calgary, and Calgary is what? It's a beautiful city. That's where I live. I love Calgary. I think Calgary is the best place in Canada until now. But we had to drive 180 kilometers away from Calgary to be able to afford a nicer home for those guys, because the prices in Red Deer, let's say, they are just like they were in Calgary 6 years ago. Let's say they are still reasonable. The housing there is still reasonable. I just saw somebody selling a home in what is it called, in Halifax and in Saskatchewan, and I'm like, whoa, my goodness. So there are still reasonable prices somewhere in Canada. Like there are still comparable to your incomes where you could afford something. But bigger cities, metropolitan cities, it's just insane, and that's where majority of Canadians live. So that's the main reasons, guys, why you shouldn't be moving to Canada. And I actually believe that we should stop the immigration, or at least, well, I don't want to say stop the immigration completely, or at least just slow down the pace. Stop taking in the new people. Don't give people false hopes. I mean, we have enough people that Canada took. Like, I feel that it's just going to be ridiculous if I say, whoever is in Canada should be just kicked out. I think that, you know what? Have those people who are here, stretch them out, help them somehow build, transition into being Canadians and things like that. But do not take any more, and don't screw up people's lives coming from other countries by promising them something that's not going to be delivered. Fix Canada, have those people, don't cheat those people that are already there, because their life savings, their livelihoods are going to be basically gone. And I think it's very disgraceful to do that, to first invite them and then just boot them the hell out of here. I think it's very wrong, because I'm an immigrant myself and I would not want to see that. But I'm telling you guys, all these immigration consultants, all these people who are motivated to just make commission on the people coming on inflating the housing, making it unaffordable and things like that. I think it's pretty unethical. And I also think that this would be able to give us a little bit of time to fix Canada up, and then we could reopen the doors and probably welcome more people in a beautiful country that it's meant to be, and that it's always been. Not in recent years, of course, but for now, I would say don't move to Canada until we are under maintenance. Like a website you go on and it says under maintenance. The same thing we have to do for Canada. We have to post that website saying it's under maintenance. Don't bother coming in. We'll fix it. Once it's fixed, we'll publish it. And again, beautiful Niagara Falls, Banff in Alberta, mountains, and we have beautiful Lake Louise. Welcome to Canada once again. But for now, we're under maintenance. We need to solve our inner problems and rebuild the Canada, almost like make it Canada great again. I would say I really want to say make Canada great again, because it's like this American elections have stuck in my brain so much that we literally have to make Canada like Canada. We need to make Canada Canada, not some third world country. Again, thanks for watching. See you soon.